Alright guys, this one's for Jackal and Zero's girlfriend. We're about to make somebody's day. We are tackling the TCG history of both Chansey and Blissey because they're a bit of a unique pair in that you would assume that any set past Neo or even within Neo that would include a Blissey would also have a Chansey, but that is not always the case, and sometimes the Chansey's more viable than the Blissey. Sometimes the Blissey knocks the Chansey out of the park, so it's a unique dynamic. Both Pokemon are pretty true to their in-game counterparts in that they have high HP, they focus on healing, and can be surprisingly powerful given the right circumstances. Certainly the most iconic and influential example of this is with the very first Chansey ever printed, the Pink Beast of base set. With 120 HP, it was tied with Charizard for the highest HP of base fossil, and nothing really topped 120 HP until 4 or 5 years later when Wailord EX dropped with 200, so the high HP of Chansey was pretty dominant throughout the Wizards of the Coast era, making it a great damage sponge to just take blows and then heal off with cards like Pokemon Center or Super Potion. So it found its way into a lot of decks that needed a couple turns to stall every now and then, like the Damage Swap archetype that used Alakazam's power to move damage counters off of key attacking Pokemon and onto Chansey where they could just be healed away with Pokemon Center, or in decks like Do the Wave where you really just needed a Pokemon on the bench as a placeholder that wasn't going to get immediately gusted and knocked out. It's pretty difficult to one-hit a Chansey. You can actually even run a Chansey build that uses no energy, that is pure stall. I'll put a little link to that up above on the video. I'm sure there's going to be lots of Chansey videos popping up just during this base set explanation. As viewers of this channel know, or anyone familiar with the early days of the Pokemon TCG, Chansey was technically the very first World Championship winner with the Metal Chansey deck. I don't want to spend too much time on the explanation since I have a full deck list video about it, but basically the deck abused a ruling loophole that Wizards of the Coast issued, saying that when a metal energy is attached, it's not only decreasing incoming damage from the opposing Pokemon, but also any self-damage that you're inflicting. So a Chansey could load up on special metal energy in the base Neo or even base Genesis format and make itself even tankier, reducing incoming damage from your opponent's side of the field, but also reducing the damage that Chansey was dealing to itself with its Double Edge attack. Now, it was also decreasing the damage dealt by Chansey with Double Edge because Chansey's not a steel type, but it was still a very high damage output deck for a card that was so difficult to knock out. And the next Chansey on the list is an odd one because this was printed in the Japanese version of Gym Challenge, but never saw print outside of Japan, so this card's kind of known in the community as Your Name Chansey or Someone's Chansey. The oddity with this card for me is that it's printed almost like a promo card. It even has that special red text at the bottom that says this card is not legal for official tournaments, but it's just part of the Japanese set list for their equivalent for Gym Challenge. It's just in there. I tried doing some digging to figure out what's up with this card, or if Wizards of the Coast ever gave an explicit reason for not printing it as a promo in English. So if anyone would like to enlighten me with more information that you might know about this card, let me know down in the comments. This card makes for a great collection piece just because it is such an oddity and never got printed outside of Japan. I did notice on TCG Player that the average selling price for this card has gone up by $12 in the last few months, so it seems like it is gaining some popularity from collectors. Competitively speaking, this card is not good, making it an even greater mystery as to why it wasn't allowed for official play at tournaments, since there's nothing really game-breaking here. I guess it's just because of this Pokemon's unusual naming convention at the top of the card. So we didn't get another actual playable Chansey until Neo Destiny, and it doesn't really compare to its base set counterpart in any way. It's slightly reminiscent, but oddly enough, this Chansey wasn't printed until after we had already gotten a Blissey in Neo Revelation, and so if you were playing the Rocket On format at the time, you could get a Blissey card, but you couldn't actually play it because you didn't have a Chansey to evolve it from yet. That Blissey from Neo Revelation can be pretty fun to play in its own version of stall. You can use the same tactics, you know, attaching metal energy to it, using it in a soft remake of Damage Swap since Alakazam did get reprinted in Legendary Collection. And in Neo On, you could combo with Retro Energy so that you are playing the Blissey and using its soft-boiled Pokemon power to heal damage off of it. Attach a Retro Energy, which is gonna heal 2 more damage counters off of Blissey, and then it's gonna return that Blissey to your hand so that you have a pretty clean Chansey that you can just evolve up again next turn and heal even more damage. Essentially abusing this combo over and over again across multiple Blisseys that you're constantly devolving and re-evolving to heal up until your opponent stands up from the table and walks away. And if you are playing that Blissey in a Neo On format, then the ideal Chansey for it is the one from Aquapolis because it has 100 HP for the extra layer of sponginess. For those in-between turns where you are devolving a Blissey, recycling the retro energy off of it using Espeon, and just waiting for your opponent to put some damage on you so you can heal it off again. And in talking about that Chansey, I did skip over the Expedition Chansey, which has some adorable artwork. Not as competitively viable. You can get some high damage off with Dogpile, but that's also damage that you're doing to yourself. And yeah, I guess you could pull off the whole metal Chansey combo with Dogpile, but all in all, it's not really worth the setup. Now jumping back to Aquapolis for Aquapolis Blissey, whose usability is completely taken away by coin flips. You have the Happy Healing Pokemon power that can heal Pokemon on your bench dependent on the number of energy attached to Blissey, but you have to flip a coin for it, and that energy investment isn't really worth it for Blissey because its attack can also fail off of a coin flip. I do really like this artwork though. Our next Chansey is Chansey EX from the EX Ruby and Sapphire set. And this was the very first set to have EXs, so the Pokemon Company didn't really know what they were doing with them yet. They were essentially just printing slightly beefed up versions of some of the most iconic base fossil cards. So you got Electabuzz EX, Scyther EX, Magmar EX, and they're all pretty good, but not too prize good. Like, there were just non-EX Pokemon that did the same thing but better. And Chansey was probably one of the worst of these like beefed up iconic cards that they made into an EX, but these cards are so sparkly. They're actually really nice to have in a collection just because they stand out so much. Back in the EX era, they would completely deck out these cards in foil, so it's got that going for it. EX Fire Red Leaf Green also had a Chansey. It's not much to write home about. It could fit into like a theme deck or a starter deck pretty well, but it didn't even have a Blissey to evolve up into, so it just comes across as more of a filler card. Unseen Forces gave us a Chansey that was clearly meant for the doubles format that they were kind of pushing in the TCG at the time, but it never really caught on. I never really liked it personally, and I don't know anyone that did. I do enjoy how derpy these Chansey look in the artwork, but it is a shame that this card wasn't really given any way to synergize with the Blissey from Unseen Forces, which was Blissey EX, and it is a step up and it does synergize with itself. 160 HP was still pretty big for the time. You know, we're not talking Wailord levels, but you get this Pokemon power, Blissful Support, which basically is a built-in Pokemon Center trainer card that you get to activate whenever you evolve from Chansey into Blissey EX. So you're discarding energy in order to fully heal those Pokemon, and then you can use Blissey's energy absorption attack to just absorb those energy out of your discard right back onto Blissey so that you can begin attacking with Rollout next turn. This just takes too much setup. You're talking 60 damage on turn 3, and yes, you are healing your Pokemon along the way, but you have to remember that this is an era where you had Blastoise, Lugia, Steelix, Mew, Manectric, all of your evolutions. These decks were completely set up and just winning games on turn 3. And because of just the way Blissey EX is set up, it's not even a good support card because it's meant to be self-sufficient, and it really just isn't fast enough to do that. Chansey from Mysterious Treasures is very much a Chansey card. You got the classic Scrunch double edge combo, 100 HP, but in the case of this Chansey, it's not really meant to do much on its own because it's meant to be played as a Stage 1 Pokemon, off of Happiny, little baby Chansey. And just as a bit of trivia, these Gen 4 baby Pokemon are some of the most underprinted Pokemon in the entire TCG. Happiny has only had 4 cards, same for Mime Jr., and Budew has only had 2 cards printed despite being around since Diamond Pearl. Utilizing Happiny to make Blissey a Stage 2 Pokemon gives us access to this very useful Pokepower Kind Egg. And in the case of Mysterious Treasures Blissey, it actually makes sense to load up energy onto it because it's not only going to make the Pokepower more powerful, but it's going to make that Happy Chance attack more powerful as well. This card has a lot going for it. You can keep hand consistency with Kind Egg, you can deal decent chunks of damage with Happy Chance, and Happy Chance itself actually has its own form of energy acceleration to make sure that you're dealing at least 40 damage. Now, this Blissey was not part of the hyper-competitive metagame, but it did make its way into a lot of rogue decks because of all of those factors that I just listed. And then for a while, both Chansey and Blissey got relegated to just being filler cards in set, where they would have an attack that heals, and then they would have an attack that either did damage based on how many energy were attached, or just dealt some moderate damage. Much like the Chansey and the Blissey from the Platinum set, where they wouldn't really be out of place in a starter deck, but they're not going into any other decks. Much the same for the Chansey and the Blissey that show up in Heart Gold, Soul Silver. At least the artwork is nice, and they did get that beautiful gold and silver airbrush border. Even Blissey Prime feels like a filler card in that all it's really good for is a one-time Pokemon Center effect, so it's kind of sad that Blissey didn't really get its own spotlight or time to shine in a Gen 2 themed set. In the Dark Explorer set, we got 2 Chansey. The first one is kind of your basic stall and then deal some chunks of damage style Chansey. The other allows you to do anywhere between 0 and infinity damage depending on your coin flips. And I do have a soft spot for these types of cards that have continuous tumble or continuous headbutt that just let you flip coins and deal a lot of damage. It can just be really fun when it actually works out and you end up dealing something like 330 damage. The Blissey from Dark Explorers is just your standard heal a little bit, do a double edge. With Phantom Forces, there's no surprise. We see 1 attack to heal, 1 attack to deal some moderate damage. Phantom Forces Blissey has a very interesting attack in Tender Vengeance. It takes so much setup to get a really high damage output to make it worth 3 energy. You know, reduce the energy cost to 1 or 2 colorless, and we got a different story here, but even then, there's not a whole lot here to make it too competitive. XY Evolutions reprinted the Pink Beast from base set with very few changes. The wording on Scrunch was altered a little bit so that it only prevented damage from attacks, and they took away the Ghost resistance or the Psychic type resistance and just added 2 more retreat costs to Chansey. Why they did that, I do not know. Something else that the Evolutions reprint has that the original doesn't is an updated Pokedex entry that I had never read before, but apparently Chansey just lays a bunch of eggs and people eat them, which raises a lot of questions like, would those eggs have hatched into other Chansey if they were left alone? If they're not Pokemon eggs, then what exactly are they? Are they just a byproduct of Chansey's biology? Because the Pokemon lore states that eggs just kind of appear out of nowhere if they're Pokemon eggs, so what exactly is the difference between Chansey eggs and Pokemon eggs, and is this confirmation that in some ways humans do eat Pokemon, or at least parts of Pokemon regularly? There wasn't a Blissey in the Evolution set, but it did get an XY promo. It's just your standard Blissey, and given that it could evolve from that reprinted base set Chansey, there's not really a reason to use it because its HP's the same, its damage output is lower. Really the only pro is that its retreat cost is 1 less. Guardians Rising Chansey, cute artwork, heal a little bit, deal a chunk of damage. Guardians Rising Blissey, cute artwork, heal a little bit, deal a chunk of damage. Lost Thunder Chansey. Extremely cute artwork, probably my favorite Chansey artwork to date. Heal a little bit, deal a chunk of damage. Maybe. Lost Thunder Blissey. Cute artwork, heal a special condition, do a chunk of damage. Maybe. Hidden Fates Chansey. You're just going to be dealing the chunk with the cute artwork this time, and there is no Blissey in Hidden Fates. With the Chilling Rain set, we got Blissey V, and this was actually a card that surprised me in how effective it could be at the highest level of competitive play. Blissey V decks were popping up at regionals, nationals. I don't recall seeing any at Worlds this year, but this is a powerful card. Blissey V is a basic Pokemon with 250 HP. If you equip it with a Cape of Toughness, then you have a 300 HP basic. So it's going to take a while to knock this thing out, giving you plenty of time to get Blissey's partner set up and to get plenty of energy cards in your discard so that you can start attacking with Blissful Blast and loading up more and more from your discard. The important thing here is that Blissful Blast does not specify it needs to be basic energy, so you can pull special energy cards from your discard and attach onto Blissey V. And the current format has plenty of amazing options to choose from for your energy arsenal. Blissey V pairs very well with the Astral Radiance Miltank to make a very consistent anti-meta deck. And don't worry, there is an alternate art so that you can pair cute artwork with healing a little bit and dealing a big chunk. Fusion Strike Chansey. Cute artwork, heal and do a chunk, and then a bigger chunk. When it comes to Fusion Strike Blissey, I love what this card is going for. Not only are you immune from attacks of Pokemon VMAX, which can come in pretty handy, but it's all about this Let's All Roll Out attack, which deals 20 damage for each of your bench Pokemon that has the same attack. And essentially what they've done here is taken all of the cutest round ball-shaped Pokemon and given them Let's All Roll Out so that you can imagine all of these cute little balls rolling together as a tiny little army. We've got Wooloo, Togedemaru, Sandshrew, Marill, Jigglypuff, and having these different types actually allows you to hit for Steel, Fighting, Water, and Psychic weaknesses as well, each one only requiring those 2 colorless energy. Sadly, in execution, it's not that great. I mean, Regigigas is basically doing the same thing, but better, but like I said, I love the idea behind it. At the time of recording this video, Pokemon Go is the latest printed set to feature Chansey and Blissey, but with some pretty good improvements. This Chansey's got 130 HP, and its attack costs are both below what a Chansey would normally have. It's got the cute artwork, you can heal a little bit, and deal a tiny little chunk of damage, but only for 2 energy. And I'm glad we're finishing the video off with Blissey from Pokemon Go, because this artwork is maybe some of the best Blissey artwork there is, because if you've played Pokemon Go, you know that when you see a Blissey in a gym, this is just the mood. This is the look that you picture that Blissey giving you, because it knows it's going to take forever for you to knock it out of that gym. And it's not just the artwork, the card itself reflects that too. This Blissey has 200 HP, Enriching Egg for only 1 energy. It's going to heal all damage from one of your bench Pokemon without discarding energy. And then, 100 damage off of 3 colorless energy isn't bad for a 1 prize Pokemon. Like, this is a good support Pokemon, maybe not on a competitive level, but casual play for sure. I am so surprised by this set. I was expecting it to just be like another gimmicky set like the Detective Pikachu one where there's nothing viable in it. But there are so many relevant cards coming out of this Pokemon Go set. Solrock and Lunatone, Radiant Charizard, even Mewtwo V-Star to a certain extent. It needs a little bit more support, but you get what I'm saying. As always with these TCG history videos, let me know down in the comments if I missed any Chanseys or Blisseys. Let me know what your favorite Chanseys and Blisseys are, favorite artwork, favorite attacks, whatever it may be. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy the type of content I put out, please like, and share. Do all that YouTube stuff. I'm always wanting to expand the channel, bring in new vintage Pokemon ideas, decks, videos, and the more community support I have, the easier it is to accomplish those things. Social media links are in the description, and I will see you next video. Bye-bye.